Oh, okay. Now you coming at me with your mask on. What's that about?
Well, I needed to ask your permission. Is it okay to take my mask off?
Well, first of all, who's in the room with you?
No one.
Take it off.
They all left me.
Good. Hello.
Thank you. How are you, April?
I'm resorting to coloring.
Yeah, it's a good caricature. It's the sad part is that the events of the day are driving people to do other things just to get your mind off of it. And when we think about Breonna Taylor and that miscarriage of justice that took place, it makes all of us sick on the stomach. If you, myself, and one other person, the three of us, decided we were going to go get somebody that we didn't like, and we fired into a house, we would all be charged with, at the very least, manslaughter, and we would have to prove our innocence. But in this case, there's not even a finding of manslaughter. And so this grand jury process and this attorney general troubles me because we don't know what evidence he took to the grand jury, and he's the only one that can take it.
And that's so much. Okay, so everyone, if you don't know, you need to know. This is Maryland Congressman Kweisi Mfume, who is up for re-election, this is his second time as congressman. He is filling the seat left by our friend Elijah Cummings in the untimely passing of Elijah Cummings. And I also want you guys to know Kweisi Mfume was the former head of the NAACP, so he knows of what he speaks. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. And if you want to wear your mask, okay, I'm going to do one of your numbers.
Oh, so you got the sexy mask. Okay.
I don't know if it's sexy. It was given to me by my girlfriend, DD Kelly. Go to ddkelly.com, the bling bling. Yeah. I just need something to protect me from people's weapons, their droplets. So
exactly.
So Kweisi, so let's put this race hat on. The wall got justice. The wall got justice. Breonna Taylor, even if she did what they said, she got a package from the post office. Her justice, she should have been able to go to court and defend herself versus having street justice, being tried, convicted, and killed on the spot. And what bothers me is, with this whole thing, the fact that the wall gets more, the neighbor in the wall gets justice. This woman is dead. And how they were shooting. They missed one of the bullets, the sixth bullet, because it was embedded in her foot. I'm a woman. I've got two daughters. You got like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this man is a Trump supporter. And tell me, Trump is pro-police. Everyone knows he's pro-police. Do you believe this man followed the rule of law? Or, because I talked to someone I can't say the name, but a very high-ranking person, as high as you can get in law enforcement, and they said this was a tough case. They said that issue was who shot first. And was this racism, or did he follow the rule of law?
Well, we don't know if he followed the rule of law because he won't tell us what he presented to the grand jury in evidence. And the grand jury can't request evidence. They have to take what he gives them. Trump was making that same point earlier today. So I don't know if he followed the letter of the law. And the fact of the matter is we need real transparency. We'd like to know, what evidence did you present that caused them to say, oh, no, there's no finding of guilt here? And I'm troubled by the fact that he won't say what that evidence was. So I think to some extent, this is a racist system. So whether this is pure racism here or not, that's up for determination. But it's a racist system structurally, and it has been for a long, long time. But the real troubling thing here is, as I said before, if you, me, and one other person went out and shot up somebody's house and they arrested us, they would charge us with manslaughter at the very least, and we would be required to prove our innocence. That has not happened in this case. It didn't happen, and that's why most people feel it's a travesty. And don't even mention Donald Trump, because I think at the end of the day, so much of this goes back to the persona that he has been putting forth for the last 4 years.
Persona? He's dumb as a doorknob. Well.
Be nice. Let me just tell everybody, since you didn't, that April used to be a student of mine.
Why you gotta tell my business? I was gonna get to
at Morgan State University, and I was her professor.
Program director.
Yes, yes. And so what you see from April is pure April. She will say what she has to say, and she did it in class, I'd say, April, slow down a minute. But that's what I like about you. You're true to who you are.
So let me say this. Not only that, Kwaisi worked at Morgan State. So we can look up Kwaisi's resume. Some other people we can't. That's a little shade there, Kim Clayton. So anyway, and she's a Republican who pointed out to Donald Trump what's wrong with Baltimore, keeps pointing and talking about me. I'm not an elected official. I give back and do what I got to do. So don't put my name in it. But she points out everything. But what's she doing to fix it? Other than her little, nonprofit that she said. But anyway, I digress. That's enough shade on that person. So anyway, no,
you don't. We'll come back to it.
So the bottom, and she can't even spell Baltimore right in her ads. What the heck, Kim Clay said, girl, bye. Anyway, so the bottom line is Kwaisi Mfume and I have known each other for a long time. I was a student at Morgan State University. He has the voice of the gods, a radio voice that you're on the phone with him. It's like, oh my God, listen to that voice. It's like, I don't care if it's Kwaisi, just listen to that voice. He's my first program director. When I started in the business at WEAA FM in Baltimore, Morgan State University Radio. And he and my mother worked on the same campus. My late mother worked on the same campus together she was there for 42 and a half years. And she used to always say, every graduation, I would fix his collar because it was always wrong.
She was right.
Yes, always on the stage. And was it 2017, I got my doctorate from Morgan State. He was on the stage. And we were there with Joe Biden, remember?
That's right.
Joe Biden and I got an honorary doctorate together at Morgan State. Joe Biden shook hands and took selfies with 700 students. That is no lie. And they left calling him Uncle Joe. So this with Kwaisi and Mfume, we go way back. So we just have to put the transparency out there. So yeah. So now let's talk about Baltimore. Since we brought it up, we called out the name Breonna Taylor, but we got a name, Freddie Gray. Marilyn Mosby tried. And, I remember when all of that happened and people were so upset. Well, why was she overcharged? And I heard so many people laughing. And I'm like, that's not a joke. I said, the accountability piece, there's someone dead. Mm-hmm. What about the accountability piece? She was ahead of her time. And I still celebrate Marilyn Mosby for that. And we still don't have accountability for Freddie Gray. We can call out names, Walter Scott in Charleston, South Carolina, Eric Garner, New York, Michael Brown, Ahmed Arbery, Trayvon Martin. I mean, they were vigilantes. Trayvon and Ahmed were vigilantes, neighborhood watchman, vigilante, whatever the heck you want to call them. But trying to espouse control and policing. We can call out so many names. Sandra Bland. It's not just about men now. It's women too. Breonna Taylor. We've been going through this too long, Kwaisi. And in Baltimore, you are from Baltimore. And the Freddie Gray piece. The bright light was spotlighting the ills of West Baltimore with Freddie Gray. The president has targeted West Baltimore, and Kim Klacik has targeted West Baltimore. Talk to me about the renewal, the renaissance, the revival that is happening in West Baltimore. We've got a lot of boarded up houses, but I understand it was a value to vacancy. The city's trying to sell blocks to people to renovate those homes, correct? And there's more efforts going on. Talk to me about that.
Well, you point out two insightful things, and I'd like to address one of them first and then try to move on. When Freddie Gray died, there was this expectation that whether he was right, wrong, or indifferent, that at least there would be an effort to try to find a way to move those who were accused to trial. And if they were exonerated, they were exonerated. If they weren't, they weren't. Maryland understood that. There is always this expectation in communities that have been traditionally put upon that at least, if I didn't get my justice while you were going upside my head, at least the criminal justice system and the prosecutor would prosecute on my behalf. Mm-hmm. That didn't take place. Freddie Gray's funeral was at my church, and I walked outside afterwards, and you could just sense in the air that a bomb was getting ready to go off. And it did, and Baltimore exploded, and we know the story from there. So that same expectation now is alive and well in the names of all the other persons that you called, and I'm glad you called Sandra Bland too. That expectation is alive. So when we get to Breonna Taylor's case, and there is no effort to try to even move the facts to a jury to make the determination. Instead, you move whatever facts you want to move so that they can't make the right determination. That troubles people. So Baltimore is like any other city. Here's the funny and sad thing that I need to say. My opponent, who is Donald Trump's best friend, they love each other. They absolutely love each other. She went into an alley 15 months ago, took pictures of trash and made a video out of it, sent it to Fox. They put it on the screen. Donald Trump saw it, fell in love with it, because Elijah Cummings was the congressperson then, and he needed to find a way to hit Elijah.
And Elijah was very ill at the time. Let's say
he was very, very ill. And let me just tell you, I spoke with him. This took a lot out of him to be accused of being a congressperson representing a city that was rat infested, rodent infested, and as Trump said, no human being would want to live there. When people make those, when they make those kind of charges, it takes something out of you. But he kept his dignity, and so that's how that started. So that 15 months later, now she's still with Trump and running against me, trying to make points like that. I'm not going to keep my dignity. I'm going to tell her what I feel on behalf of the city that I love and the people. You just don't put on high heels, walk through a neighborhood for 4 minutes, and automatically overdo the work of people who've been working those neighborhoods for 4 decades. It's a put off and a put down on faith leaders, on community leaders, on homeowners, to say everything is bad and this is a terrible place. And then you get in your car and you drive outside of the district. She doesn't even live
here. And if she had any kind of stake in the city that she's pointing out, why doesn't she move into one of those districts, move into those homes, fix it up, and really be with the people, not walking by, sashaying by like you want. Well, I'm not going to say what you want, but sashaying by those houses. Instead, you know, there's an old saying in the Black community. When you look down to pick somebody up instead of pointing fingers. And what I don't understand, and this is, I talked to Maya Rockeymoore Cummings, the widow of Elijah Cummings. She has a new book, and I talked to her yesterday. And she believes that morning that Donald Trump was going after Baltimore and Elijah Cummings, that morning at 2 o'clock in the morning, guess what happened? Somebody broke into Elijah's house, and she does not feel it's a coincidence.
Right. Yeah.
These are the kind of people we're playing with.
Right. And in this particular instance, not only does my opponent not live in the district, refuses to move into the district. If the election were held tomorrow, April, she wouldn't even legally be able to vote for herself. And yet she wants other people to vote for her. So that's the kind of hypocrisy that we're dealing with. But, you know, God is still in charge.
Yes,
and at the end of the day, truth will reign out. But in the process, I just don't like smearing people, smearing communities, and tearing people down. If you've got to tear people down to build yourself up, then you're really a midget, not know it.
Just because you think you are skin folk don't mean you are kinfolk. And I have a problem with her because one day she went out, and I'm gonna stop after this because I don't want to hurt the child, because she's trying her best, the best that she knows what to do. She can't even spell Baltimore. But at the end of the day, she came out saying, "Oh, nobody even knows you in Baltimore." April, I'm like, well, you don't even come to Baltimore, so how do you? She doesn't even know that I'm in the city. She doesn't even know that I own property in Baltimore. She's crazy. And not only that, she found, this is how ignorant these people are, guys. Someone sent me a video. She got some person that I don't even know to say that we used to walk home from school together when we were kids. And the girl said she hasn't even seen me since we were kids. I never met the girl in my life. I'm like, liar, liar, dress on fire. They're like, anybody with the president is a liar. And you know what she's going to get, just like Donald Trump got today when he tried to pay his respects or thought he was paying his respects? Booze and vote them out.
So this president, people say he's crazy, and I say, yeah, but he's crazy like a fox, which means we got to keep our eye on what he does and not necessarily what he says, because he's almost like a magician. Now, the latest thing is to find a way to ram through another justice on the Supreme Court believing that if there is a contested election, as he said yesterday, then, well, we'll let the courts settle it. Well, if you run the courts, we pretty much know what the settlement will be.
Mitt Romney has hurt a lot of people. People were giving him a lot of credit, and for him to turn on that, and then now to say, he said, I'm going to support him with that, and then now to say that if you lose, you can't, we need to have a peaceful transition of power. I'm like, but quite see, the precedent was set. The precedent was set about 4 years ago when Merrick Garland was up to go to have an up or down vote. And they said, no, this was 11 months. This is how many days? 40 days.
Yeah.
And they're going to now tilt the court. This is going to be 30, 40 years. What's up at stake if this does go through?
Well, first of all, if this election comes down to a rendering of the Supreme Court, it's going to be tilted, and I think in absolutely the wrong direction. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But there have been a lot of little things leading up to this. Trump spent 5 weeks telling people, don't trust the mail-in ballots don't work. It's a fraud. If I lose, it must be the ballots. And so you got some people thinking and not knowing, well, maybe there is a problem, where there's not been a problem at all with mail-in ballots. 5 states do that completely, and they've been doing it for 10 or 12 years. But you plant little things like that, and then you put your own postmaster general, who's contributed $600,000 to you, in the position of being the postmaster general. You do that in June, and by July, that same person has instituted new policies, snatching mailboxes off of street corners, disassembling sorting machines in postal facilities, denying overtime to postal workers. It's that sort of stuff that together and in concert move us to a point of uncertainty. So I think people have to remember one thing. If you're going to vote, and I hope everybody's going to do that, vote early. Do not wait until the end. Get your ballot in, and if you're going to wait for the early vote, do that. Elections have consequences. We found that out 4 years ago. And people who do not vote have no line of credit with the people who are elected, and therefore they pose no threat to those who work daily against their interests. We not only have to vote people in office, we've got to vote people out of office, and it starts with this president.
I'm reclaiming my time. This is COVID Conversations.
I'm going to tell Maxine.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Who, by the way, April, people should know this. Maxine Waters has a threat in her district from someone similar to the candidate that's in my district. And many of us are just finding out how vicious it is. So
what's going on?
Keep your eye on her
How
race.
vicious is hers?
It's vicious. It's extremely vicious. I'm not even going to say the stuff that her opponent has been saying on the air about her, but it's not good. So you know her, you should reach out for her. I'm sure she would enjoy just a word from friends and others as she goes through these next 40 days.
I'll text her and find out what's going on. But I say this, you know, in the midst of this moment, and again, you're listening to COVID Conversations with the Honorable Kwesi Mfume, current congressman from Baltimore, West Baltimore. And you grew up, you were born in West Baltimore, right? West Baltimore,
Yep.
Born and raised. There you go.
Born and raised.
And, you know, and we're talking the gambit. We're talking what's on the Hill. We're talking Trump. We're talking his election. We're talking Breonna Taylor. And guys, send questions if you want to talk, if you want your question answered. And I'm looking at all the comments. But at the end of the day, Congressman, you know, the president is talking about the integrity of the ballot. He's talking about he's not going to have a peaceful transition of power. He's playing games with what is so precious, what is sacred to politics, the vote and the transition of power. We've never seen foolishness like this before. He is a pure fool. Something is wrong with this man.
And that's why I said crazy like a fox, because he's playing to the fears that people have. He's saying subliminally to his larger white base, trust me, you don't want to lose what we have. If we let somebody else in, you will lose power. He's saying to white women in the suburbs, look at what they're doing to the cities. In a few minutes and a few weeks, they'll be out in your communities trying to do the same thing.
And
Go ahead, April.
And what people are not realizing is that he said, yes, and Cory Booker will be HUD secretary. Do you realize he's playing into that old fear of black men looking at a white woman. That's what got Emmett Till lynched. The lie that got Emmett Till lynched. And every time they say that, I'm like, y'all not really digging into this as much as we know. We know that his family had that culture of racism. So he understands those words and those codes that he's throwing out. Yes, you don't want them coming into the suburbs. Well, guess what? We here.
And been in it, and been in the suburbs for a long time, you know. But it's that sort of thing that he knows that viscerally can affect somebody's thinking, especially if you think you've got something to lose from those people. And that's how he does it over and over and over again. He's taken some of the protests that have gotten out of hand and have said, see, this is what's going to happen. I'm the only one that can protect the cities. Send me in and I'll have it done in 5 minutes. And he continues to flame those sort of fires and fan those sort of fires to get people upset. So, you know, there's a part of all of us that has to tune him out, because otherwise we'll be reacting 24 hours a day to him. But there's another part of us that has to understand his thinking and find ways to counter that in our communities and when we have conversations with others and when we're trying to organize. We have to stay organized.
All right, so somebody put the wrong date. I'm not even going to say the wrong date. Y'all, it's November 3rd. November 3rd. I want you to remember, write that date down, November 3rd. But the election process is already happening right now. We are early voting, okay? Reach out to your Board of Election supervisors in your community, even the League of Women Voters or vote.com, to find out how you can participate in the process. Because I'm telling you, the mail is late right now. Stuff is late. Stuff is coming late, so you need to do it now. When it normally takes 2 days, it takes 2 or 3 weeks. And this is why, because like the congressman said, he's hijacked in the middle of the night the post office boxes off the street corner. And quite, you know what it makes me feel like? It makes me feel like when the Mayflower trucks came in here and stole the coats from us.
1984. Were you alive then? 1984? Were you alive in 84?
I'm proud to say I'm 53 years old.
I'm just messing with you.
No, you're not. I remember Baltimore was upset. My father, I went to get a moving company. He said, why would you get Mayflower? I forgot. I was like, oh, okay, I'll never do it again. Yeah,
but you raise a good point. The mail is slow, and it's slow as a result of them disassembling all of these sorting machines in postal offices all over the country at the behest of DeJoy, the Postmaster General. And when we conducted an interview with the Inspector General, and when we had him before our committee, what we discovered was that, yes, an independent study showed that first-class mail was trending 12 to 15 days behind, and parcels were trending 15 to 20 days behind. So we've been after him to get that fixed by going in, and the judge has ruled that you've got to put things back to where they were when you came in office. But we want things to go back to where they were in January. We want these machines back in and reinstalled, and we want to make sure that people can get overtime to be able to get mail out on time. But it is all calculated. Trust me, it is not by happenstance at all.
And people are not fussing. People who need medicine. I'm not hearing the outcry from the community. Is it the fact that people are scared because he'll tweet or he'll do something? I mean, I just don't understand. And it goes to somebody's question. How do we combat Trump's promotion of fear?
Yeah, well, this may sound a little hokey, but I believe it. At the end of the day, God is still in charge. He gave us a mind to think with and a body to react and to fight with, and the ability to influence other people. We've got to find a way to get other people focused. There's too many distractions in our society. And I realize that people don't want to pay attention to politics, or they think everybody's the same, or there's nothing that I can do. But there is. And the worst thing to do is to take our eye off of things and to leave people like Donald Trump in charge of doing things that work against our interests daily. And that is hard. It's difficult. It requires social groups. It requires interaction like you're doing with this program. It requires a ministerial response, and it requires money to some extent to be able to push back on what we continue to see big dollar donors are doing to politics. They're polluting it. And now that he has been in charge of things, it's like free for all. Just give him money, as Mr. DeJoy did, and you can find yourself in a nice position of prominence.
That's, you know, a lot of people have found themselves when they are loyal to him and just in positions of prominence and don't know a damn thing of what they're doing. Forgive me, Congress.
You mean people who say that they're honorable and put honorable in front of their name? Are you talking about those people?
Yeah, yes.
I hope this is not a private. I hope people know what we're talking about.
I think people know what we're talking about. People know, but you know, there are a lot of people putting honorable in front of their names right now who are not doing anything. I think of Betsy DeVos. I'm like, huh? She has been horrid when it comes to issues of education. I mean, people are not doing anything. The USDA. I mean, farmers are having a hard time. I don't understand. And this president, people are still talking about supporting him. COVID, over 200,000 people are dead. I don't understand. I'm sitting in my house for 6 months. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to work because of him. My kids are home. I don't understand why people are not fed up. What is it?
Well,
we're not like we used to be, Kwesi. When we were upset, we marched. When we were upset, we vote. What is it? What is going on with the human spirit right now? I don't understand.
Well, some of it is that people feel so beat down with this virus and their inability to do anything about it. They've been in quarantine or semi-quarantine for 7 or 8 months now. It's taken whether it's our young people, you know, this is a different situation, so it's affecting us differently. And that's why I said we've just got to find a way, even in this COVID crisis, to hold on to the things that make us who we are. And so much of that is our ability to fight back. So much of it has been our ability to live under dire circumstances. So when the crisis struck, I mean, there were a lot of people who really went crazy, but there were a lot of Black people who said and who knew internally, this is another crisis that we've got to live through, and we've got to find a way to adjust. The adjustment is hard, but I think that has a lot to do with all of this.
Someone just said, how do we have hope when there is so much injustice and be re-inspired when feeling uninspired? That's this question. Thank you for that. And then someone said, let me see, what's the plan? Someone said, what's the plan to get him out? You got to vote. You got to vote. You got to vote. That is it. And then Kwesi, this is for you. What is Kwesi going to do for his Baltimore? It's not just his Baltimore, it's my Baltimore too. Baltimore is every urban city. Baltimore is Cleveland. Baltimore is Chicago. Baltimore is DC. Baltimore is New York. Baltimore is LA. Name it. Baltimore is Houston. Baltimore is Dallas. What you going to do for Baltimore that can help other cities?
Well, the one thing that I'm going to continue to do is to be very honest about what the truth is and what we're up against, and call it the way it is and let the chips fall where they may. Some of that means fighting to pass good legislation in a situation now where Mitch McConnell has taken everything from the HEROES Act to the George Floyd Justice Act, you name it, and has bottled it up on his desk. But that should not stop my desire to fight back, and nor will it. And I expect that other people should know that what I'm doing is what I've done before, and that is to try to provide the best example I can provide and to give the best fight. This is not a perfect nation, and we are not perfect people, but God still calls us to a perfect mission. And part of that mission is feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, housing the homeless, teaching the illiterate, providing security for our seniors, and a good education for our young people. Every day, that ought to be the things that guide us. And to recognize that none of us are short of criticism. We're going to make mistakes, and we have to own up to those mistakes. We're going to sometimes not do everything that we can in one particular area while we're trying to do everything in another area. Those things are going to happen because we're all human. But unless we are prepared to recognize that and to put people in office that feel that way, we lose. Now, on the back of my seat in the Congress of the United States, when I served previously, before Elijah got elected and gave us great service, there was a little sticky that said, this seat does not belong to Kwesi. It belongs to the people of the 7th Congressional District. It is on loan, and I expect to return it one day better than the way I found it. I believe that, I live by it, and people who know me will tell you that that's very accurate. Here's my thing. I'm not going to be here forever. And those of us who are in office that are doing what we think is a good job aren't going to be around forever. We need a whole new legion of young people who believe in fighting for what you care about and what you believe in, who are unapologetic about the things that need to be changed in our society, and most of all, who we have taught to believe that they can change the world. If we don't have that, April, as you know, we'll fade off into the sunset. They'll say, oh, he was a great congressperson, great councilman, great mayor. He was a good guy. And then business as usual continues unless we have that group of young people to pick up that slack.
Someone just said Baltimore is Oakland. That's true. And also, I tell a story when I speak. I call your name. You must feel me running through your brain, because I talk about you a lot when I speak. And the point about voting, every vote counts, even though the reason why they're playing with the vote is because voting is so important. Each vote matters. You would never know who this man is. You wouldn't even know his name if he had not won his city council seat for Baltimore City. Guess how many votes he won that seat by? Kwesi, how many votes did you win the seat by?
I won the seat by 3 votes after 3 recounts. So if 2 people had stayed home, or 2 people had gone to lunch and didn't go to vote, I would have never gotten elected. What happened after that would have never happened, and I would be not where I am today. And my dear grandmother, who I buried at 83 years of age, she said to me, she only had a 6th grade education. She said, boy, and I said, yes, ma'am. She said, as long as you are black, which meant the rest of my life, you just remember those 3 votes were the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. You focus on that and you will be okay. So every vote does count and every vote must be counted.
Yeah. And that's a powerful story. That is a powerful vote story. You would not know his name. He would not have been congressman. Well, he could have been, but you get the point. He would have been congressman, head of the NAACP, congressman again. And if he hadn't won that city council seat by 3 votes. So also, he made a very good point. Power means service. And it's not about me, what I can get out of it. It means serving us. So with that said, what is going on with the stimulus package? People are still looking for their money.
They are. And Nancy Pelosi, to her credit, has been an extremely strong negotiator. They have tried to break her back and break her will and get her to just throw up her hands and forget about it. And the Democratic caucus in the House of Representatives has said, no, we either get it or we're not going home. And now I think the other side of the aisle is starting to feel pressure from their own people who, by the way, are suffering also. So whether you're poor black, poor Latino, poor white, it doesn't matter. Poor is poor. When a baby cries at night, that baby doesn't always cry in pain. They also cry in poverty. And that is so very near and dear to what the stimulus package does. It will provide the weekly or the monthly paycheck to families, particularly those with dependent children. It will find a way to provide money for state and local governments who are almost bankrupt because of this COVID virus and are laying people off and can't continue to do what they do in terms of services. It provides money for testing, treatment, and tracing. It provides real essential pay for essential workers so that those persons most at risk because of their jobs, they can't work at home. They've got to be out there. We can't just assume they're going to be there when so many of them are dying and being infected. So it's been on Mitch McConnell's desk. I'm so glad you brought this up, April, for over 3 months. And again, this gets back, by the way, Mitch McConnell, Kentucky. All right. What's the AG's name? Coleman?
Daniel, was it? I can't even call his name.
Kentucky. That's I just wanted to make that connection.
Oh, we got the connection. Because they're trying to connect them. They're even trying to connect the AG with him by marriage. It's crazy, but that thing, it's painful. It is painful.
It is painful. People are hurting.
People are hurting.
Real bad. And for everybody that's got a job and can commute or, work virtually, God bless you. God bless you. But there's so many others who are nameless and faceless that we don't see. Every day people are losing jobs. Some jobs are never going to return again to this society.
Right. That's
never.
Right.
They're gone forever. And so it is not just me, the adult, but it's me, the adult, and my family, my wife or my husband, if I'm a woman, my children, everybody ultimately feels the pain more and more of this virus and its economic impact.
So everyone wanted to remind me of his last name, Cameron. I'm so glad I forgot it, but thank you for reminding, because I'm trying to. That's painful. That is so painful. So, like you said, anything, if something else happened in another situation, it would be manslaughter. We'd be charged with manslaughter, but he didn't do that. So, here's another question. Why is the CDC leaning into politics? The CDC, Centers for Disease Control, they gave us guidelines. President Trump is saying something else. They're taking the guidelines down. What is that about, Congressman?
I think, this is my speculation, that it's about people not wanting to lose their jobs and their positions. Some people have actually left rather than to toe the line that Donald Trump puts out. But he has sent members of his team in to go and rewrite CDC regulations, go on their website, take down information and change it and put it back up, saying something altogether different, which is diametrically opposed to all the things that the physicians and scientists at the CDC have told us. I can only assume that people are silent because they don't want to lose their jobs, and they know that his favorite mantra is, "You're fired anyway." I wish that were not the case, but I don't know what everybody's individual situation is in terms of the income, in terms of their home. But if you weren't afraid to lose your position, I think you would just say, "To hell with you, Mr. President. We're not going to change it." And then he would fire you, of course, and find somebody else in a heartbeat to replace you. I think people are intimidated at the Centers for Disease Control.
You know, I told two people yesterday. I told a bunch of people yesterday. I was texting. I didn't have the show yesterday, and I was just so upset. That's why I went to coloring. I'm serious. I've been riding my bike. I've been coloring. I've been just breathing. I'm like, this is a tough pill to take. And I said, they're trying to break us. I said, we can't survive under this oppression. But somebody said, you're right. You're now getting it, but you got to fight back. And the prescription was fight back without letting them know the fight. I said, that's interesting. They said, don't go out here rioting. Don't go out here acting crazy. Go out here and fight. Take back your communities and make them wonder. And I said, that is a good point. So to that end, how do you fight a president who goes to pay his final respects to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and he's booed, and then the press secretary comes out saying, oh, it was just the swamp people? His reality of the reality.
Is that what she said?
Yeah,
that was her comment?
Let me go get it. Let me give you the full text. Let me give you the quote. But in the meantime, yeah, because hold on, let me get it.
Okay, okay. Take your time.
You are funny. Take your time. Take your time. Trying to be so kind.
I'm telling you on your own show to take your time, right?
Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, here we go. Oh gosh, why did it roll up? Okay, hold on. Let me go back. Okay, he said, take your time. I'm gonna take.
So she said those were swamp people?
The White House press secretary responds to the reception real Donald Trump received at the court today while paying his final respects to late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Quote, the chants were appalling, but certainly to be expected when you're in the heart of the swamp.
Yeah, well,
basically called the swamp people.
Well, you got to be in the swamp to identify swamp people. Okay, let's start with that premise. And to make those kinds of assertions about people who are simply coming out to pay their respects is lower than, how can I say this? Whale feces, which is at the bottom of the sea. So that's how low you have to be to make that kind of a comment.
That's abacus. That's abacus, right?
I don't know.
Oh, whale feces. Oh no, okay. No, I think it's.
I was going to say something else, but I can't say that. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know it's at the bottom of the sea.
Yes. Okay.
If it came out of the whale.
I got it.
Okay, good.
You want to go as low as you can go without being low. I get you.
Right. So if you want to call people swamp animals for paying their respects to someone with the decency and the struggle and the history of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you have a problem. And yes, that makes you lower than whale, you know what, which is at the bottom of the sea. Let me say something, Noah, because you asked the question about how do we just kind of get through this? How do we keep our sanity. I think that's what you said.
Yes.
Let's keep one thing in front of us, that as a race of people, we have suffered, endured, and survived 3 centuries of slavery, oppression, deprivation, degradation, denial, and disprivilege. We came through all of that, and we are here today. So that has to say, based just on the analogy, that we're going to get through this, even though it's dark right now. But we can't just get through it. We got to get through it and be better than we were. We've got to get through it with real hope for the generation that's coming behind us, kids that are just 2, 3, 4, 5 years of that age now. And we've got to do it with a firm resolve where we respect each other in the process, because, you know, we're committing too many crimes against one another. We have to have respect for one another and a sense of decency about us. And we have to be willing enough to recognize that we don't know everything, but we're prepared to make our body a bridge so that that generation can run across and get to the future that many of us will not see.
Like Good Trouble John Lewis, he was a bridge for us to vote. So let's talk about this. Why is the president so hard about not leaving the White House if he loses? Because I hear that you guys have got a laundry list y'all getting ready to throw at him. And there's going to be an unsealing of court records. He's going to be hauled into court. And he could possibly serve jail time. I don't think that Biden would pardon him. I got a feeling he wouldn't. Go ahead.
I have a feeling you're absolutely right about that, too. There would not be a pardon. But I don't have enough evidence or details right now to get in front of the Attorney General in New York or the prosecutors there. But like you, I've read enough to know that they have a substantial amount of documentation and that they are meticulously going through everything they have so that none of it is thrown out later or ruled insufficient. And I think that whenever they do come, that it will be monumental. And, you know, once you're out of office, you're a private citizen. You can't hide under the things that protect you as a president. And even if you get reelected, you're not president for life. There will be a time when you're a citizen again. And they may not even wait for that time. They may have enough law, order, and justice on their side to do something before then. I don't know, but we will all find out together.
We sure will all find out together. So, all right, here, let me do this. Someone said, can he speak to what the Republican Party tries to take Dem seats in the House? Can you talk about that?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Can you speak to what the Republican Party is trying to do to take Dem seats in the House?
Well, the easy answer is that they're trying to do everything because they like to flip the House back to being a Republican-controlled House. And they want to hold on to the Senate, obviously, to keep that under Republican control.
Do you think that's got a chance to flip? Do you think it's going to flip blue?
I think the Senate has a real chance, maybe 50-50. I hate to use that analogy since, you know, in 50-50, it's the vice president that breaks ties. But in sporting analysis, it's a 50-50 chance that the Senate could return to being Democratic controlled. Hallelujah. Well, so we're watching what's happening in Georgia and in some of these other races that heretofore people thought there was no chance. There's been a flipping around of some of the polling, and there's a real chance that that could happen. In the House, which goes back to the caller's question, in the House, it's going to be a little more difficult, but the Republican Party is smart enough to realize that this election is not the end. They're already planning for 2 years down the road because in the House, all of us have to run every 2 years. And so what you see with me, with an onslaught of a candidate who's come from nowhere, that Donald Trump has raised $2 million for in the course of 6 days. And when you see what's happening with Maxine Waters on the West Coast, I have to believe that the Baltimore district and the Los Angeles district are test markets of a new philosophy that Republicans have trying to find a way to hone and sharpen so that 2 years down the road, when everybody's up for re-election again, it won't be the exception, it will be the rule, where people who heretofore thought they were in good Democratic districts are being challenged by a whole new wave of young Black Republicans who can dress okay, who can speak the King's English, but who drank the Kool-Aid and will always sound like Donald Trump no matter what, because they give up their identity. That's going to be the challenge to at least 50 Democrats. in the next election, because sometimes, unlike us, they just don't see today. They're looking down the road at tomorrow and the tomorrow after that. So to answer the question, everything is being done to start that process. But most importantly, you can see it at work, particularly in the challenge here in Baltimore and the challenge in Los Angeles.
And right. And speaking of that challenge in Baltimore, I can only speak of the challenge in Baltimore because I've got you here. What trips me out is that a lot of the candidates who are going against the incumbents, or a lot of the Republicans, are espousing these gutter tactics like the president. And here's one person who says, how do we combat Klasik's rhetoric and lies? Someone says, how do we combat Klasik's rhetoric and lies? How do you?
Well, I guess the best way is with the truth. That's always seemed to work for me. So when she says that Baltimore is a hellhole and it's not fit for human habitation,
come live here, honey. Come live.
Right. You know, come live here, please. By the way, I've never seen anybody that has so much to say about a district in an area that they don't want to live in. She refuses to move here. And I don't know very much about her. So I'm still asking the question.
And that's what I want to know. I don't know anything about her. She just started putting my name in her mouth. I need to see your resume, boo. I need to see your qualifications. What makes you think you can serve that way? And
what have you done? Where have you been? Because I don't know anything other than the straight line, which says, you know, she dropped out of college and then she says she started a nonprofit for women.
And that's great. The nonprofit is great, but that's one thing. That's one thing.
And it's got to be verified, because I don't know if it's verified. Who got help by it? That's the other thing. So anyway, I don't want to get off into that.
No. You're right. But we need to, when you are looking at a candidate, you need to see who they are. And we don't need lies. We don't need lies. We need to see truth. You want to smear people and lie about people? Come on, tell us your truth. And let me ask you this. Someone also asked, they said, would you debate her? Because somebody came up here and he said, okay, here we go. Will there be a debate with Kim Klasik? I wouldn't debate her because she's a liar, and you don't know.
Well, she would have to debate her. She would have to debate herself for that to happen, because I wouldn't. And for the things that I stated, let me restate it again. She doesn't live in the district. She refuses to move into the district that she wants to represent.
Pointing
fingers. I don't want to debate somebody who, if the election were tomorrow, couldn't even legally vote for themselves. That's the other thing.
That's a big piece. Say that again. If the election were to happen tomorrow for the seat that you currently hold, because she doesn't live in the district, she can't.
And refuses to move in the district, she would not be able to legally vote for herself as congressperson. That's amazing. I mean, it's just
in a lofty perch, looking down. Let them eat cake and looking down on them.
Yeah, it's a lot of audacity, to say the very, very least. And let me just give you the other part of that.
With her best friend gave her the audacity, Donald John Trump.
And here's the other part, April. Just 5 months ago, she and I ran against one another in what's called an election. And 3 out of every 4 voters rejected her. So why now? What's changed in 5 months? I don't know. She's the same person. I hope I'm the same person. So no, I would not dignify a debate by doing
validation. And I think she's insecure and she needs to validate herself. She's gone out. She used to go out on social media targeting me. And I'm like, why are you telling me? I'm not the elected official. I said, Julia, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to report. You haven't done anything. Girl, you don't know me. You don't know what I have done. Keep your name out keep my name out your mouth and tell the truth. You fix it. Work with your president to go get the wax out that you talked about. Work with your president to uplift the community.
So, April, I don't want to run out of time, because I do need to talk a bit about policy, something that I think is very important that you're aware of. And that is the entire Congressional Black Caucus spent months working on a comprehensive, probably the most significant and comprehensive piece of legislation that I've ever seen. And I've been around this term, and I served previously, as you know. It is the Jobs and Justice Act of 2020. Okay. It was released yesterday. It is 200 pieces of legislation in a single bill. And as I said before, there were so many members of the caucus, particularly the chair people under the leadership of Karen Bass, that put this together. It strengthens Pell Grant funding. It expands grants for HBCUs. It provides $7.5 billion to upgrade water infrastructure in our communities, particularly drinking water. It encourages businesses to continue to build infrastructure and to actively find a way to employ people while they're doing that. It ensures the stability of the Minority Business Economic Development and Business Agency. It expands the Earned Income Tax Credit. It increases SNAP benefits for women and children in our society. It protects the Affordable Care Act. It provides transformative work in the area of police reform because it's taken the George Floyd Act, which is on Mitch McConnell's desk,
Yes.
and incorporated it into this process. It expands access to the ballot. It expands the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It grants statehood to the District of Columbia. It just does a number of things in terms of protections for women, for children, for minority businesses, and for our communities. It's a comprehensive piece of legislation, but if anyone were to go to my Facebook page or my official congressional page, there's information there. I will get the entire piece out to you. I think we need to study it, advocate it, teach it in our communities, and look at it as something that altogether we want to move at, no matter who is president, to get this passed.
And that's what people were saying. Where could they find it? So it's on your Facebook page and on your what page?
My congressional website also,
okay,
congressional Facebook page.
Yes, so look for that, guys. But it sounds like it's something that hits every category, and it sounds like it addresses the many of the ills in the community, because we're still a community in 2020 that has the highest numbers of negatives in almost every category. It's not myth, it's not conjecture, it's fact. Look at the statistics. But here's the question. Okay, you got this on the House side. Y'all all Democrats. But who do you have on the Senate side who's going to shepherd this through? Are y'all friends with Tim Scott by any chance?
No, but Cory Booker will take that and move with it on the Senate side as a companion measure. The key is flipping the Senate, getting it to be Democratic again, and to find a way, obviously, to flip the White House. That's why it all comes back to voting, doesn't it? It all depends on what we do in the next 40 days, which I hope is an early vote, and what we do across the country to get people to vote. We still have issues in Pennsylvania as a swing state, in Ohio as a swing state, in North Carolina and Florida. Those states have to come into the Democratic column. And if we're able to do that, we'll be like we did in 2008, where we controlled the White House with a Democratic president and both houses of the Congress, and things will move much quicker that way.
I can't tell people, and I won't tell people who to vote for, but I'm going to tell you something. You got to vote. You got to vote. Mm-hmm. And this country cannot stand the way it's going. Susan Rice, I'm name dropping now. Susan Rice, former National Security Advisor, former UN Ambassador, and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton on this program, COVID Conversation, said that if you make the change now, you can repair things. But if it's another 4 years, it's irreparable. And it's like, it's going to be worse than whale poo in the sea.
Mm-hmm. At the bottom of the sea.
At the bottom of the sea.
Right, which is as low as you can go.
At
so
the
we need
darkest part of the sea.
We need strong business, private sector, public sector partnerships. We need a renewed emphasis on the faith-based efforts that have been taking place in our community. We've got to find a way to cut back on recidivism among young Black men in and out of jail, By the way, we passed the Commission on Black Men and Black Boys. It's a 19-member commission that's going to report back specific things that we should do here in the Congress. But there's so many pieces of this that's why I said there's room for everybody. I mean, there is room for everybody to do something. I really don't have all the answers. Somebody will think of something I didn't, or I'll think of something that somebody else didn't. But if we're talking, and if we are shoulder to shoulder, recognizing that we've got our own differences as a race of people, Lord help me, Jesus, we don't all think alike. But we all have the same goals, and the goal is to make this nation better for young people who will inherit it, to provide special security for our seniors who have given everything they could give and more to be alive this long, and to say to the rest of the world that Black people in America are continuing to change America, to make it better. I hope that Latinos see it that way. I hope that Asians see it that way. And quite frankly, I hope that white people see it that way, who know that there's a better chance and a better way and a better day. It is not, let's make America great again. That is not it. It's how do we find a way to give greatness to everybody? You know, a person smarter than me 2,000 years ago said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And even though they persecuted him and nailed him to a cross, those words and the meaning of that has to be a part of our DNA. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve.
All right, so since you're going to church, I'm thinking of this. If I can help somebody as I travel along, then my living shall not be in vain, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, we get one real shot at doing everything we can in our lifetime. Somebody told me once that some of us are young old men and old young men, and that some of us are young old women and old young women. In other words, some of us are going to die in our 20s, our 30s, and our 40s. Then clearly we were old young people. But others are going to live way beyond that, into their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they, because of their energy and their vitality, which has caused them to live, are really young, old people. I don't know where we are in that mix, but I do know that we've got to take advantage of the time that we have here. Because why else be here? This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the real deal.
It sure is the real deal. My friend, Congressman Kwesi Mfume, if you don't know, if you tuned in late, go back to the beginning and find out how we know each other. I think about what President Trump said at that first press conference. I said, the Congressional Black Caucus, he said, don't you know them? Aren't they all your friends? No, they're not all my friends, but I know this one very well. So it's funny. Oh,
my favorite.
Black Caucus chimed in. It says the Congressional Black Caucus chimed in saying, let me see. Let me pull it down. The Commission on Social Status of Black Boys Act was created by CBC member Representative Frederica Wilson. Okay. Thank you, CBC, for chiming in. Thank you.
And she worked hard at that, April. I mean, she just worked hard. I can't explain it any other way. She never let go. And it wasn't her. She wanted everybody to be a part of it. And that's why we have it now. And I can't wait for that commission to get started to report directly back to the Congress. And I thank her and I thank those members who were here before I got here for helping to support her in those efforts. You know, Elijah Cummings, God rest his soul, and I am sitting in his old office right now.
Which was your old office that it was, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Mitchell's
like
old office too, right?
That's correct. He would always say that we are the messages that we send to a future that we may never see. So every time we affect a young person, every time we change their thinking and give them the ability to know how to fight and what to fight for and to make sure that they're true to themselves, we're sending a message through them into a future that many of us will never see. And Elijah never saw that future, but he sent so many of those little messages out through young people that he affected every day.
And all this is Baltimore, strength in Baltimore. We are fighters. Let me tell you something. You don't want to come up against Baltimore because you can talk about us and we're going to stand strong. Baltimore strong all day long. And we're going to
Thank goodness.
We are overcomers. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to let you go because I know you got to go. Walter Scott Thomas, the pastor of the late Congressman Elijah Cummings, said, you know, we're the only community in this nation that has the word failure built into our existence. And for us to rise up out of that failure is something. So Kim Klasick, that's something you don't understand, boo. I love you, my friend.
Or as my 9-year-old niece says, girl, please. Honey, look. Girl, bye.
Oh my God. I don't even want, and I'm a shoe girl and dress. I don't even want her clothes or shoes. She just turns me off. But Kwesi Mfume, good luck to you. Godspeed. Do the people's work. Keep doing the people's work. Baltimore needs you. The world needs you.